So there's a reason why I have a podcast. And there's a reason why I don't just stay in my studio, hunker down, make a lot of work for myself and for clients. And the reason is that I know how hard it is. I know how hard it is to be creative. I know how hard it is to know that you were a creative kid and fought for your creativity through your whole life. You went to a creative school, got a creative job, and then you wake up one day and you realize it's actually just a job. And I want to help that. I want to help you. So I heard from a number of you last time I recorded one of my coaching calls that heard from so many of you that I thought I'd do another piece of another call. So here today, I'm sharing that with you. My guest and I hit a lot of different points this time, and I hope it's of service to you. And let me know if you need help, because I want to be there for you, more than just some disconnected, sexy voice. Okay, so we're just going to, right after the music, we're just going to jump into this. Let's do this.
Like this metal print, like setting up the type and then printing it with ink. They did a workshop and they made that for me. And I said, "Oh, this is awesome." And they said, "Because you always say that." And I had no idea. I always say, "Don't be a candy ass."
You know, that's interesting because that was actually one of the first things I wanted to talk about. As I said previously, I sent you just a little, "Hey, Randall, checking in. What's up?" And and you sent me back this fantastic fucking letter. But one of the things that you said, and one of the things that comes up often, and you just reiterated it now with that sign, is that idea of and what you said in your letter was powering through exhaustion.
Yeah.
And I would try to direct you away from forcing yourself to work harder.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I completely understand where you're coming from. When I don't have the kids with me, I get up at 4:30 in the morning. And like 2 days ago, I was up at 4:30 in the morning. The only thing I did outside of be here and work was go to the gym, maybe the grocery store. And then at like 9 o'clock at night, I just look around and it's dark outside and I just start laughing. And I'm like, "Jim Bob, what up? What up? You ain't done nothing all day except fucking work."
Right.
Is it a race? Is it a race? So I want to kind of help you kind of get that.
Okay, good.
Where you're not just like forcing yourself to work harder, but where you understand that you're trying to build a life and become more fully yourself.
Correct.
It's a different mindset and it's a different path, and I think it's important for you to see that.
Yeah.
Well, I often even in writing, I've called myself a meat grinder. Right? It's just like, I'm gonna force this through. I'm gonna make this shit all happen now.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be like that, or at least it doesn't have to feel like that. I often try to see life as a race, and then I look around. I'm like, oh, nobody else is in the race but me. Oh shit. Okay, so I really want to start. And there's some stuff I want to talk to you. Stuff that'll come up today, but I want to get that warfare competition language gone.
I love that.
I think that's uber important. Hey, do you got questions? Because I've got a bunch of stuff that you wrote to me and I'd like to talk about, but
I do have some questions. Lately, I've been struggling with lately I've been struggling with, I've been maybe indulging a little bit too much into the argument of AI or not AI. And just because it's so omnipresent in my life
Well,
where
yeah, being forced on you at work, right?
correct. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's a guy that works with our sister company that's really all systems go on the AI to build stuff. And which is cool. He's building systems and things like that, but at the same time, I just don't know where I'm at with it. Even if it was, I didn't have philosophical problems with it, there's still this environmental thing that's nagging a little bit. And you know what I mean? It's so multifaceted. And I was on a call yesterday and just I do what I do. I just talk how I talk. And I was talking to the client about, I think I love the debate about AI because it's really not about AI. The debate is really about culturally, when we make an advertisement as a human being, we add a little extra cultural zest to that instead of being just a shitty ass ad that's going to be around town. We add in like advertisements, whether we like it or not, actually makes a lot of the culture in our country.
Yeah.
You know, and so once we give that job to AI, who's setting the culture?
Yes. Yes. It's the blanding, you know?
Yeah.
It's the beige of everything. And this realization for you was super important because, and it's something that you need to start talking about, you know, whether your attitude about it is going to change
Sure.
at the workplace, who the fuck cares? Really?
Right.
I mean, really, right? You can just do what a lot of people do which is just like, um, uh, you know, make the boss happy, do the work, and stop giving a shit.
Yeah.
If you can't have the conversations with them, if you can't have the conversations with them and say, this is how it goes for me. It's like, I see what you want. And this is you talking to your boss, your client. I see what you want.
Yeah.
I understand. But I also see past that, and I see the audience, and the audience is human. And I understand what they want, and they want someone to speak honestly to them. Because in the end, what you Randall are discovering is that personality matters. And taste matters, and humanity matters, and weirdness. You have your own fucking particular weirdness that matters, right? And this is the beginning of and you've mentioned it before. This is the beginning of your new chapter.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I don't think your new chapter is is the seat you're sitting in right now.
Correct.
The seat you're sitting in right now is a test.
Yeah.
And I think you should take care of that seat and do the best you can. But I think you should also ride the horse in the direction it's going.
Gotcha.
Right? Because when we stop riding the horse in the direction it's going, it adds further stress.
Yeah.
And there's personal things that I want to down the, a little bit of the future of this conversation, personal things that I want you to start thinking about or doing so you can handle that stress better, so you can have an outlet for this or a base plate for this foundation of Randall.
Beautiful. No, that would be awesome.
Because like I know, and this is why I'm pushing this AI webinar. Is we both know that the AI proof or the future proof creative is the human one. It's the one who loves and still remembers craft and skill and that I wrote about it just recently, and I said the things that AI can't do, and it can't feck perfection. It can't it can't see the wrongest answer. It doesn't understand why one color would be better than another, or why one color would be wrong, and that's the perfect way to use it. To have a blue sheep makes sense in this situation, right? That kind of thing.
Right.
So that, but I also don't want you beating your head up against your job.
Right. Well, it's one of the crazier parts about AI now is I'm actually thinking about building into our processes, our branding processes, when the client comes back with a fucking AI logo of their own. Because that's a really big part of our day-to-day now, where it's like, oh, I took yours and then I put it in AI and now look at this. And it's like, holy fuck, is this real? I mean, it is. And so I guess part of me is a little bit curious how far, where do I end and my job just kind of begins, where it's like, okay, do you love it? Do we just, do we just cash the check?
Is your name on the door?
Right. It's not. Well, I mean, it's not.
I think you're a strong, smart guy. I think anybody would be fucking lucky to have you, in their corner, have you, that you got their back. But again, I think swimming upriver is a bad idea.
Yeah.
I think fighting, finding the battles that you can win and go, keep being that. I was going to say elbow in the ribs, that, thorn in the side, but it's not even that. It's this keep bringing back this humanity and this beauty to the conversation. And, because no one's going to go, oh no, here he is with that humanity thing. Oh, fuck. Right. He's going to talk about being, generous.
Piece of shit. It's so true. It is. And I do say on the front side, before every relationship with an advisor, and most of the time we'll do rebrands for them. We'll do a brand refresh at the very least. And I'll say, hey, I can only help you as much as you're willing to be helped. Not unlike their clients who sometimes they just don't accept their financial plans. It's like, I can only help you as open as you're going to be about this.
Mm-hmm.
And
mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think, that's awesome, because you're already trying to have the education process with them. And that's
correct.
Part of your role. But again, so when I was coming up through New York, and I was primarily a book jacket designer. That's where I started.
Yeah.
Book jackets. And I learned that I hated the revision process. I learned that I hated the process of, like, well, you show them 3 covers up front, and then the downside of that is they just Frankenstein it. They're like, I like the type on this one, I like the image with that one, let's put it together.
Right. So
I just started showing 1, and I didn't want to do the million revisions. And somebody on LinkedIn just wrote to me today and said, well, you could use AI to do those 15 billboard revisions. And I'm like, no, why are you even admitting to or saying yes to 15 different revisions? Because it's completely random. And that was my argument with the other designers who would go through these. Are they paying you 15 times? I don't understand this.
Yeah.
Budget's gone. So,
and how
we have to be in control of that, and we have to kind of set our own boundaries of what we will do and what we won't do.
Yeah.
And I get it that AI can do it, fast and cheap, and if somebody wants that, then somebody wants that.
Right. Well, okay, James, tell me about when you were a book jacket designer and you made them just one. How was that received? But 2, how did you navigate when they wanted to go through a revision process?
They have to be clear about what they're looking for.
Yep.
And this is where I came up with the expression that I say there are some jobs you do for God and some jobs you do for money. Well, I approach everything as a God job, a lowercase g, mind you, but a God job, opportunity to do greatness, to try something new, to do something I haven't done before, you know. And when it turned into a money job, I got it done and took my name off of it.
Right.
Right.
Okay.
You just, you know, you understand the limitations and you try to ride the horse in the direction it's going. But I actually became extremely lucky with showing one. And then on top of that, carry that on for a couple of years, and I created a reputation, and people would, you know, work with me because they trusted me.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of our job, is to make those decisions for people. You know, why did you hire me? Because you can just get 6 different ideas from, you know, from anybody.
Correct.
And I have told people before, especially back then, I'm like, I am a gushing fountain of creativity. I can give you 30 ideas, but at some point, somebody's going to have to make a decision.
Right. Correct. That's awesome. All right. Yep. Those were kind of my questions so far. Yeah, if you want to go through the email, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, like I said, the biggest thing was the beating your head against the wall, the you know, turning your job and your creativity into an endurance sport, you know.
Right.
You know, the powering through exhaustion, those are your words.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's like you can't force yourself to work harder. You got to figure out, you know, where your energy is, and use that energy to, you know, to make a beautiful life.
Yeah.
I was running a class yesterday, and I had a group of people in a group class, and it was getting dark because it was all like AI and politics and stuff. And I'm like, okay, guys, here is your mantra for the rest of the day. Do what makes you happy. Find out what makes you happy. Find out what makes your heart happy, and then do that thing. And you know, take a deep breath and then go, you know, do that thing. Because I mean, you know, for me, James Victoria, I got a list, you know, as long as my leg of to-dos, I could just go, okay, I got that done. Oh, I gotta do that tax thing. Oh, I gotta do this thing. I gotta get back to that person, you know?
Yeah.
But at some point you gotta kind of just do what makes you happy. And I often, for me, it's just like just leave without my phone, go for a walk in the woods, right? Take a break or do some push-ups or something, you know?
Yeah. So it's interesting. So I read this article about how doom scrolling shrinks the gray matter in your brain.
Oh, fuck yeah.
And then I read about some of the side effects of AI and even just digital, looking at a screen all the time. And it was horrifying, right? So last night I was like, oh, I'm going to sketch on my iPad. And then I read this and I was like, holy fuck. So I grabbed a sketchbook. And this is something that I did because you said it, because you were talking about how referential everything is. So I grabbed my paper sketchbook and my pencils, and I started drawing, and I was just stream of conscious drawing. And it felt really good. It felt really in the moment. It felt fun. And at one point, I decided I was going to draw a snake's head, right? And my knee-jerk reaction was I should Google and look at snake's head so I get this anatomically correct. And then I thought, why the fuck would I want it to be anatomically? Who gives a shit? If like I'm 48 years old. I've probably seen a couple 100,000 images of snakes in my life. So I just drew what I felt like a snake looked like. And the interesting part to me was it looked more like a snake than if it was anatomically correct.
Correct. Because there's an aha to it. And first of all, AI doesn't have the aha. You know, AI wants to go straight to satisfy, you know, straight to referencing. But what we bring to that is that childlike play.
Yeah.
And if it, for me, I want my images and I want my type to skate to the edge of legibility.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody to look at my snake and say, "Well, that's quite a fine turtle you have there," right? but yes, I want that, the wrongness that makes it. So yeah, that's awesome. And it's funny because one of the things I was going to say when you said you started sketching is a suggestion of how to kind of like, one way that I really like to play is just get your pen or your pencil, whatever you like working with, big piece of paper. And the first thing you do is like close your eyes and just make a scribble. And then when you open your eyes, make that into something. Maybe turn it upside down. And then you can actually start, there's a face, or there's a tomato on a vine, or there, you know what I mean? Like, turn it into, and sometimes it's type, sometimes it's words, sometimes it's just like filling in different parts reveals something. There's this aha, there's finding, there's this searching and finding, and that is a good exercise for our brain, because that contradicts the brain rot that happens from staring at screens all day.
Right. No, I will do that. That sounds awesome.
My friend Tina, who runs Creative Mornings, she's just started some directive where she's going back and she's around my age, and she's going back to like pulling out a sketchbook every day and just drawing. She's like, oh my God, I haven't had art school Tina in a long time, so I'm going to go back. And that is the fucking future. That's the future, and that's what I'm pushing for. I want to be involved in that future. I want to be involved in craft. I was writing about it earlier this morning, and I was thinking about response to someone saying, well, AI is it's a tool like a camera, and I wanted to start writing about how we've lost a lot of skills. Because it's not just a tool, it's a thinking machine, right? And it gives us thoughts, and it gives us things that we need to create on our own. We need to think about on our own. It's like if I went into AI and I said, my kids are doing this thing, how should I react to that?
Right.
Right. It takes the fun out of it for us.
Yeah.
The fun of figuring it out. I just recently heard someone say, AI and creativity takes the pleasure out of it, because what you experienced in that snake was the pleasure.
Yeah.
AI, it doesn't have that. And they said that's like letting AI eat your ice cream.
Right.
Right.
It's so true. And at a certain point, I was like, well, snakes have scales, so I should do that. And then I felt, but I don't want to fucking do that. I don't want my snake to have scales, because that's laborious. But two, I was like, why? And it's interesting, as human beings, we can edit out the things that make sense and say, no, I want it to make less sense. This is about having fun.
Yeah. I was in Dusseldorf, Germany recently, and I did a super smart thing. And from stage, I said, hey, I'm going to be doing drawings for people after this talk. There's a table outside. I brought all my pens, and I did like fucking 60.
That's
60
awesome.
drawings. I just sat there for, hours and just did all these things. And it was funny because some people said, hey, it was very emotional. Because it was like they were experiencing this thing, and that was moving. Or they'd say, hey, my son is turning 9 and I want to say something. He's a little shy. I'd like to, and I'm like, okay, how about this? What do you want to say to your son? And here, what if we say this? And then, but to your point, one thing that somebody came to me and they said, I'm a unicorn. And I was like, okay. She said, can you make me? I said, yes, I can make you a unicorn. And I can't draw unicorns. So I drew a stick figure unicorn with a very colorful horn, but it was a stick figure unicorn. And then what I always did is, and there was a little arrow pointing to it, and it said unicorn. And then I wrote her name in beautiful fashion, above and below, and and she loved it because it's the aha.
Yeah.
Why, you can find glorious unicorns on the internet.
Yeah. And what makes a unicorn?
Yeah.
Right? Spend way more time on the horn and then label it.
Yeah, label it. Put a label underneath it.
That's fucking awesome.
So yeah, I think the drawing experience, the drawing things are something that you should, set aside maybe the beginning of every day or when you get to your desk.
Yeah.
Get to your desk 10 minutes earlier and have a little, I use these little flip notebooks, little flip this size of those little notebooks, and they're great. You can carry them in your pocket.
Yeah.
Just do that. But I think it should be a regular thing for you. I think it should be a regular process. Just like telling yourself to relax. It's not a competition.
Yeah.
Just like breathing.
The thing about that drawing that I did last night was I was exhausted when I got home from work, as I am every day. And I was like, okay, I'll just play around in the sketchbook and I won't be looking at a screen. It'll be great. And so I started doing that. And by the time I finished that drawing, I felt amazing. I actually wasn't tired anymore. And it was pretty late. It was like 11:30, 12:30 at night. And I was like, shit, I got to get to bed. But I just felt so good. It's almost like I was totally re-energized. I could have done another shift.
Mm-hmm.
Right now, you're thinking, oh man, I wish James Victori could be my mentor, my guru. Hell, I wish he was my coach. Well, you can make that happen. Go to yourworkisagift.com. There's a questionnaire that will probably help you out, but it'll also give you access to a free call. So let's talk. Let's free you from overwhelm and creative frustration. Let's build your business and help you get paid to do what you love. Again, go to yourworkisagift.com. Let's talk.
How's your physical? Your physicalness?
It's good. So I smashed my shoulder. It was right after I got back from the funeral. I was going to do some jogging because my heart felt weird. And I think a lot of that's just anxiety. So I was like, oh, I'm going to go for a run and see how this goes. And I made it about a half a block before I tripped on the concrete. And when I landed on my shoulder, it sounded like I landed on a box of like Fruity Pebbles. It was just like
that sound. I know that sound. Yeah.
So it was painful. I went to the emergency room. There was nothing structurally wrong. They got me set up with some physical therapy. I have most of the mobility back in it at this point. The doctor said, look, man, it was smart to wait 2 weeks to set up this appointment. It's healed as much as it's gonna. Get some physical therapy. It should get you the rest of the way.
Cool. Well, I will tell you, physical therapy and exercise, you can get the body's made to heal.
Yeah.
You can get your body back to, even more than it was. Like right now, my body is stronger than it's been in freaking years. But like
awesome.
5 years ago, I had that same situation where I had an accident, fell on my shoulder, and I broke my collarbone and all of my ribs on my right side, like all of them. And it was literally like that sound where if you took a bundle of sticks and just went snapped it, right? But the body's made to heal. So, stay on that. And that's the thing. Most people will get to a certain point and then just accept that a certain level of pain.
Yeah.
I call it walking pain. As long as they can get around, they're fine. But that means you're hobbling. And this applies to your spirit as well as your creativity. Right?
Yeah.
Well, my job won't let me do this thing, so I guess I'll just accept this level of where I am now and I won't ever. And I'm like, that, no, that's not cool.
Yeah.
Because you're selling off the best parts of you. So pay attention to that stuff.
Will do.
There was another line in what you wrote, a piece of information that you left. Tell me if you want to talk about this. I do not want the people I love getting the leftovers.
Yeah. Yeah, I do want to talk about that. That was so I did that funeral, and it was tough, and it, obviously the funeral, I was really reflective about it. And I had known for a long time that I work, I do an hour commute each day. I'm probably working 12 hours a day with the commute, right? And when I get home, I'm exhausted. And I've known for a long time that I'm not 100% at my best when I get home from work, but I try to engage with Holly, with the kids, and be the very best I can be. But, after that funeral, I just came to the realization that it's not fair. And somehow it's selfish of me to do, because it not like at right now, I realize that I have a choice. I am the breadwinner in the home, but at the same time, I didn't feel like I was actively pursuing the solution enough.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, the sooner I can get there and make some money on this business, the sooner they can get the best of me. Because, and then I'm living my purpose. Like, it's like that drawing that I told you that I did yesterday. I felt amazing. Imagine if I felt like that every day when I got home.
Yeah. Well, I would be lying to say you can, and I'd be lying to say you can't, right?
Right.
You know that. First of all, to go backwards a little bit, that is some awesome information to get on yourself. And oftentimes it takes something severe like a death for us to realize that. And but Randall, what most people do is they suppress that and go back to numb again.
Right.
Right. And the problem is that doesn't help anybody. So I think what you're doing with this process, with our process, is trying to reorganize your priorities. I think you should have a conversation at home and say, hey, this is something I've realized, and I apologize. And I want this is what I would like.
Yeah.
And those kind of conversations are super important. Super important. I think most relationships need 1, more conversation, and 2, more naps.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Sure. So yeah. So you're from the accident and from that realization, your body and your spirit are trying to communicate with you.
Yeah.
And listen, you got to listen to that.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like I've been on this path for a while. It's interesting what is revealed to you along the way, right? Like, we're talking, so I'm just way more introspective for the last couple of months, and then, a death in the family. And then, I've been more emotional lately. I've just been more, it seems like that the toxicity of that, I don't want to fucking put it like this, but years of sadness is almost like outgassing.
Exactly.
I'm just more emotional and more hopeful.
Exactly. That's exactly the process. And I'm feeling it too. I'm feeling it too with me and my work and where I am, and I'm trying to figure out how not to be on my own all day and not socialize, because that's not cool.
Right.
I love myself and I love my solitude.
Yeah.
But we need contact. We need connection. That's what art is all about. And I'm like, my thing is like, I use it as a there's a perfect word and I can't think of it. What is it? It means substitute. Me making art and sharing it out in the world is a substitute for relationships. It's like, hey, I'm making connections. I'm connecting with people through my work. But but at the end of the day, I've got to like pat myself on the back.
Right. Right.
So,
do you think that's why you just opened it up and drew those 60 drawings? Like, fuck, I
oh,
need
that was so
contact.
that was so great. That was so, now I'm trying to figure out how to do, and I've got a talk coming up in Boulder next month, and I've already got in touch with them and said, hey, let's do this thing. But
that's awesome.
But yeah, I'm trying to figure out how to do it more because one, I like playing. Two, I like an audience because I'm a show off. And three, I like people to have my work.
Yeah.
So if I can figure that out. But I can't I just can't sit outside of the shopping center and say, hey, drawings, everyone get a drawing.
Right.
It's not the same thing.
I remember when, it was probably 20 years ago now when you were doing the plates.
Oh yeah.
And you were selling the plates. And I remember as a young designer, like watching this all happening from afar and thinking, not even to the people around me, just to myself, like, how the fuck is James doing this? How many of these plates does he have? But two, how is he, it's like you made such a demand for this plate. And I thought it was genius, because like, hey, check it out. And then you do the thing and there's the plate. And I thought, this is fucking genius.
Yeah, I haven't made a plate in a long time. I got to think about that. Thank you. God damn, another thing on the list.
Yeah, well, it was just so brilliant. And it was interesting how my mind worked around that. Like, does James have a fucking warehouse where he walks in and like grab a plate and here you go? You know what I mean?
That's exactly what you don't want. Because I want it to be, I want it to be I want it to be impromptu. I want it to be improv. I want it to be the act. So no,
Were
I
you
do
just
not.
signing plates at restaurants and stealing them?
Yep. Yeah, they're all stolen plates. That makes
awesome.
Listen, it's part of it. It's part of it. Why would I go and buy Crate and Barrel fucking
right.
First of all, Crate and Barrel plates are ugly, but restaurant plates are cool. So invite me to dinner. We'll go out to dinner and have a blast. I'll bring my pens.
Fucking awesome.
Something else, a work-related question. You were that there was a question. I think I can't really find it, but it was about making as that it feels heavy. And the moments that it seemed like the moments that lit you up were when you talk about writing honestly and recording a podcast and discovering that stuff. See, again, that's the mantra of, go make yourself happy, find what makes it, and then do that thing,
Yeah.
Because those are the things that are, that are going to be the tools you carry from now on. And that's how we get away from the heaviness of it.
Yeah. Well, and I think for me, I really wouldn't have known, and I would have had an answer though, but I wouldn't have really known. And I would have thought that it was creating logos, creating graphic design, making it look aesthetically pleasing to myself, really. Mm-hmm. But the truth is what I really like about it and what I've gathered from, and I think I've always known it, just never really verbalized it because you sound like such a fucking weirdo. But I like the pursuit of the idea. I like the in drawing, I think is super fun, and I think the sketches that I make all end up kind of looking like monster 90s comic book art. But And that I think is serving my childhood, but it's the pursuit of the idea.
Mm-hmm.
It's because those ideas are, you end up vetting. It's like, oh, well, do I believe this? And then you create a design around that where you're really forwarding the concept of that idea. And then sometimes you finish it and you're like, I actually don't fucking believe that. But it's the pursuit of the idea to get to your deeper truth is
Mm-hmm.
what I really like about graphic design. And maybe I like maybe I actually like illustration with words. I'm not too sure. I don't really care. I don't really know what to call it, but I think defining it doesn't really matter to me. Kind of like that thing that you said to the guy, like, oh, you're one of those people who cares about shit like that.
Yeah, I don't
Like,
think the definition is important. Whether the feeling is important. How it makes you feel is important.
yeah, and I think the deeper I get with this brand that I'm making, the deeper I get to fully realizing and being able to verbalize my own truth.
Yeah,
And I think it's the pursuit of that I think I really like about it, and visualizing that.
well, that's what we were saying earlier. You know, what we do takes time.
Yeah.
What we do takes
Yeah.
time. It takes time. It takes thinking, and it takes wrong thinking. And some guy made a comment about how I basically talk about AI, and some guy said, oh, you fixate too much on the process, and I was like, but the process is all we have, you know. And then and then of course I made the mistake of looking at his work, and I'm like, oh, and you fixate on the end result, and your end result sucks because of that.
Right.
I didn't share that. But anyway, another thing I wanted to present to you, one was like that, the snake drawing, or turning it even more loose, where you don't give yourself a directive. I'm going to draw a snake.
Right, right.
So turning it into much more free, like drawing either eyes closed or drawing scribbles, and then turning the stuff. There's something I want you to think about. Do you ever hear of like how there's a really great story that goes around about Aerosmith, the band?
Yeah.
How they have monthly meetings. Have you heard this?
No.
They have
an investment group.
They would have monthly meeting. Well, they would obviously be in the studio, right? But every once in a while they would get in the studio, and they would have it was called the Freedom to Suck. And it meant just don't be embarrassed. This is the time where you can bring those stupid fucking words.
Yeah.
Dude looks like a lady. What the hell is that? Right? Just bring the dumb words, bring the dumb riffs, and let's give each other the freedom to suck. And I think that's something that you need to do, because you should make more work that's not finished. That's a big thing right there. Not even finished. Like, why finish? Right?
That's a good
unapproved, unauthorized,
right.
Lacking permission, all those things, even ugly, just, and it's not to build your brand, although I think your brand is going to come out of these.
Yeah. I think so too. Because I've been playing around with, as much as I like to fucking put a ton of detail into shit, I realize that, through our talking, through this sort of mentorship, that I do that to cover up the structural deficiencies of my own illustrations. I remember in college, I drew this drawing that I thought was fucking awesome, and I brought it and one of the professors saw it, and she said, and I probably spent 40 hours on this thing. And she looked at it and said, that's a nice sketch. And I was just like, what the fuck am I listening? You know what I mean? And at that time I was still, I was newly sober. I was pretty, not very put together, but I remember like almost being instantly triggered, like an emotional trigger, like my heart started racing. blood rushed to my head, and I was just like, what the fuck kind of level of disrespect is that? And as much as I hated it, it has affected me since.
I
And
know, I
that,
know. That is called trauma, and that happens in the school situation often. It will
yeah,
ruin people, and they will carry it for the rest of their lives. No, it's terrible, and you have to give yourself the freedom to like know that that person was wrong, and you need to,
yeah,
you need to apologize to yourself for listening and for letting that piss in your
yeah,
pool,
yeah.
and
Because
knowing that it's not right, and knowing that like Anais Nin said, we don't see the world the way it is, we see the world the way we are.
yeah,
I just commented, unfortunately late at night when I wasn't at my best, but I commented on this woman who has like 500,000 followers. And I don't know why she popped up on my Instagram, but she's sitting there in her living room, in her finely decorated living room. And she's holding her little fuzzy microphone. And she's saying, we are not born creative. It is a practice, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that is the most moronically blind statement about creativity I've ever fucking heard. Like, this is the important part. I said, you are probably just talking about yourself.
yeah,
And that's how it works. That's how it works. So I don't know if, I'm going to get my butt handed to me by her followers or not. But
it is so fucking
I think I will
weird.
survive.
Yeah, right. I just listened to your podcast on purpose, and there was a lot that I loved about the podcast, and it felt like you went off on some tangents, and I thought when I was listening to it, I thought this is why people listen to other people. And it might not necessarily be for the information. Like you did a podcast and you're like, yeah, this is about purpose, but it was the tangential things that you said, the weird, like the kind of the fucked up shit that you would bring up, and that would be so human. And that's the stuff that I really gravitated towards.
Mm-hmm.
What was the James is fucking going off on this, and I'm just loving it, right? It's the essence of that rebellion. But yeah, I thought that was a great fucking episode because it was eye-opening to me when we think about it. Like, why was I bound to the rules of perfect anatomy in illustration? Like in my imperfections are consistent. They're consistent. They're omnipresent in my work.
Yeah.
And I was told not to have them.
Yeah. Interesting. Interesting. I have I'll call it a book. It's some mimeographed, not even Xerox, mimeographed pages from when I was in 5th grade, I think.
Yeah.
That I was in a class that we made a storybook, and we wrote stories and we illustrated them. And one of the, I got to do the cover, which was of course moving for me and, meant a lot. Changed my life. But in it, there is a full page drawing that I did of Captain America. And now I look back on it and I remember that drive, that urge to draw Captain America the way Captain America looked. And I think that kind of signals the end of creativity and the entering into like a conformity. Into restrictions and rules, which was interesting. And one thing to go backwards, we were talking about you lightening up and doing these 10-minute drawing sessions. And you would possibly, you're building your brand in that. But I think you're also rebuilding, since we're talking about this, I think you're also rebuilding the trust in yourself.
Yeah.
And that's super important. That's awesome. That's awesome, dude.
Thank you. And it's a little bit sad too, where it's like to be veered from and I'm not going to blame anybody but myself for this, where it's like to have weighted somebody else's opinion so heavily that I was chasing something that wasn't mine for 20 fucking years. You know, I think that's the greater, I guess it's just kind of sad, but at the very least, I'm lucky enough to have noticed. It's like, wait a minute, where's all that shitty stuff that I like? Let's bring that back. Like, fuck them. Because it's weird how even now I'll look at an illustration on Instagram that I know took a really long time, and I'll feel that stress. But then I'll see something that's way looser, and I'll feel the joy, like the fun in it. And I didn't do it. And I have no idea if that one was easy and the other, I have no idea, but I'll feel the intent almost that was put into these things.
Yeah. I think you're feeling that cage that you built around yourself. Right?
Yeah.
Of other people's rules. And
right.
They're can't find the word. You know what their expectations.
Yeah.
Other people's expectations, right? I love your spirit, dude. I love your spirit. I love your spirit. I love our Fridays.
Yeah, me too. This is my favorite meeting for sure.
Okay.
Every time.
Drop me a line if you got any questions.
Will do.
Let me know what's going on. Okay.
Very good. I appreciate it, James. Thank you.
I love you, buddy. Talk to you later. Bye.
All right. Bye.